That's a wonderful start. Thank you, folks, and welcome to the Squeaky Wheel. We are a podcast that brings Métis perspective to conversation. And with me, as always, my wonderful co-host, Mr. Lawrence Gervais, President of Region 3. Lawrence, I know I use this every time. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Lawrence Gervais. I'm the regional president at Region 3. And as you can see, I got some new equipment. So I'm more enhanced now.
You sound wonderful, I might add.
Oh, I thank you. I was, going to comment that the Métis Nation of Alberta has 14,000 members in the South, and that's who I represent. And I'm very happy to represent them every day. This is all who I think about, at least since 2014, is about every single one of those members out there.
No, I think I know we talk pretty much every day, if not a number of times, identifying some of the things that are happening definitely within our region and more specifically within our community, which is why that representation on your behalf I'm kind of excited about, because today we're going to be talking with the Local 87 President Joe Pimlott here coming up shortly. But to talk to our audience, thank you for all of you who continue to subscribe. Thank you to everybody who sends in your questions. To focus on what we usually talk about, just to give everybody a little heads up. And it's not limited to, because I know we often go off on a rant and a bit of a tangent, is we'll usually open with what coffee we're drinking this day. Though I would like it if we were able to roast it together at the same time. We'll talk current issues. We'll go into Métis connections and what's happening within the community, talk about how to connect with us and what to expect in future broadcasts, as well as what our latest review and rant is. So today, Lawrence, I just wanted to point out back here, I have this is the one I sent over. This is the Rose Brothers Coffee. So these are two fellas who started, I think it was in 2016. Now, they don't actually have any shops within Calgary, but you can find them through a number of different distribution places. The Sunnyside, the Bonesian down in Bowness, Bite, I know for sure. We actually were fortunate that my wife had ordered a local box, which in the local box also came this beautiful little mug where I'm drinking my coffee out of today, which is exceptional, I might add. And I like to do this, folks, because I just want to always connect with our community and usually have an opportunity to share a coffee with Lawrence. Because as I point out so often, somehow you always make yourself available for everybody in the community whenever they reach out to you.
Well, I do my best, number one.
Yes. Well, and your best is usually enough to impress me. And your idea of when you came up with the idea of our podcast, which I know we've talked about before, but yeah, we are kind of squeaky wheels. As the cart continues to roll forward, we're trying to bring new topics, trying to not overwhelm people. I think right now we're at a difficult time. There's a lot of conversations that are going on out there, and it's hard for us to speak towards all of them because I find we're still trying to understand them. So in the meantime, because we have, a limited amount of time for our podcasts, I think we try to hit on things that are very direct for the Métis. Now, last week, we were very fortunate to have Calgary Councillor Ward Sutherland on, who spoke about his Métis roots, spoke about his Métis heritage, some of the experience that he's had. We talked about our coffee with Cafe Rosso, so I'm going to come back to the councillor. We talked about what it takes for Alberta to have a win. And I know I ranted a little bit about people following the lines, but the councillor, I felt, really hit home in talking about what's happening still with COVID and the phases. Did you have anything that I might have missed there?
Well, I think for him, bringing up his personal story about his own, going to visit his mother in one of the nursing homes here in Calgary, and how hard that was, on him, emotionally and, personally with her, right? Because she hasn't really been out of her room since March, and
Yeah.
it was a great comment to actually hear one of our leaders actually talk about that.
And I think I liked that because he is kind soul of identifying we're all in this together. We're all in it. His challenges when it comes to family are the same challenges as the rest of us. His challenges when it comes to his city responsibility, those are immense. And I know even this week, the discussion about the green line's been going on, and everybody is, we're all waiting on the arena. We're all waiting on things opening up. We're all waiting. Everybody wants to move forward, but I think we're doing it in a responsible way.
I think so. I think we do move into this gradual place emotionally for a lot of us, and just move into the next stage, to the next stage, to the next stage. But there are some of us that just rip the Band-Aid off and they just go out,
Yeah.
and so we just have to be very cognizant that we don't want to move in those kind of steps, right? Just a gradual change for us is important.
And I think this is one more tool to remind the community that we're all in this together. If, as a Métis community, we continue to reinforce the need for us to follow the rules, folks. If you need to know what some of those rules are, you can go to the province, you can go to the city of Calgary, you can also go, as you can see above here, to the Métis, albertamétis.com, which will take you to the Métis Nation of Alberta main website. You can reach out to us at tsw@métis3.org, or you can even go to our website, www.métis3.org, and you can get more information. And if you really can't seem to get the information from there, pick up the phone and call the office. I know that there's a lot of support programs out there that we often talk about, and I think people are more than welcome to go back to some of our earlier podcasts to learn about those things. My other recommendation is to talk amongst yourselves, especially the elders in our community, the seniors in our community, and there's the youth podcast as well that tries to engage people, and I think it's important that we give a little shout out to them. Our current issue that I had made a note of that we wanted to talk about was the weather. Lawrence, what's going on out there?
I don't know, but Northeast Calgary and a bit of Airdrie just got nailed with hail and damage and just nastiness. Even the airport, so it was really bad. It looks like a war zone over there. So
a big wish to all of the people in the Northeast community, as well as anybody who was hit. We're thinking about you. The conversation at City Hall was that could be one of the top 5 most expensive insured incidents within Canada, up to potentially $1 billion. And if you consider what the floods were like in 2013, I knew it was raining that day. Where I was living, I'm very lucky that I didn't get hit, but I certainly feel for at this time the difficulty that those people are having to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, wind and rain, it was really bad where I was, but thank God we didn't get what they got, for sure. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, folks, as I mentioned, we're very fortuitous to bring the Local 87 president, and I know I've congratulated him before, but also to congratulate him one more time, Mr. Joe Pimlott, to engage with us today on the Squeaky Wheel. Welcome, Mr. Pimlott, to our little video podcast. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, hey guys, thanks for having me on this wonderful Alberta evening. Apparently it's raining a lot again.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, where do I start? I was born 7 pounds 8 ounces. No, I'm just kidding. So I was born in Comox, British Columbia, many years ago. So I'm an island boy, and I moved to Alberta when I was about 12, 13 years old. Grew up in the Forest Lawn area, and I've pretty much just never left for the past, 3+ decades. What else do you want to know? Do you want to know my business background? Do you want to know my favorite color?
Well, you know what always interests me when it comes to people in conversation is everybody engages with their community in a different way. Everybody identifies themselves when it comes culturally in a different way. And because you're the Local 87 president, I'm quite confident, because we've known each other for a while now, that your ability to engage with people is wondrous. You have such a strength when it comes to that conversation. And because you are the president, it's pretty much known that you are Métis. But at what time were you more comfortable with sharing that message? And this is we've had like Councillor Ward Sutherland last week who talked about it, but it's always, for everybody, it's different. For me, it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I really started to understand what the word Métis meant, because my dad was really on a larger search for it. And, but the relationships that I've gained from that have been so strong. But for you, where did it begin, and where it seems like it's taking you now to be the president of Local 87? So,
that's a really good point. So when I was a teenager growing up in the Forest Lawn area, I didn't know, or it wasn't discussed, that we were Métis. So around our table, we had Indigenous blood. The terminology didn't actually flow through my mom or through my aunts and uncles, and of course my grandparents. It didn't happen at that time, and I wasn't sure why. And like you, as I grew up and I got into my 20s and 30s, I ended up going with my mom to get her Métis card. It would have been my mid-30s, I want to say, early to mid-30s.
Right.
And I was fascinated by this. And I said, I want to go get my Métis card. I was, walking down trying to get some candy and stuff with my mom.
Yeah.
But once I found out a little bit more information about the Métis culture and Métis history, once I had that card, I was just glued to trying to find out more information, trying to find out more history about my family, of course. And then as I gained a little bit more knowledge, I found out that a ton of my friends that I grew up with as teenagers were also Métis. Nobody talked about it.
Sure.
Trying to figure out why that was, right? And then kind of as I progressed into my my mid to late 30s, I ended up working for the Métis Nation of Alberta, of all places, right, through Region 3. And then it moved on from there. It was like a whirlwind of just knowledge and culture and history just coming down on me like an avalanche. And it was wonderful.
Yeah. I always find that we have very positive messages. I know every time I hear Lawrence speak, I learn something new. Every time, Lawrence, that you bring up new conversation, and again, I comment all the time of how great of an orator you are, I'm always picking up something new. And to that same point, as you'd mentioned, Joe, when my dad started to go to events, and I thought, well, maybe I'll go to some events. You were always there. And it showed just how engaged you were in the community. And then because you're always there, you are somebody that it's easy to be comfortable around, then having that conversation. What happens next? What happens next? If I barely understand what's happened behind me, how am I really going to understand what's happening in front of me? Which then leads me to the fact that you are the president of Local 87. At this most challenging time, can you give us a little idea as to what's happening with the local when it comes to programs you're trying to come up with for COVID for those members?
For sure. Absolutely. So as you know, there was a transition right before the pandemic happened. And unfortunately, our local was without the majority executive. And so it was very, very difficult. Me as just a community member trying to do my part to assist in making sure that the local citizens were being taken care of. And of course, we had to go through proper protocols. And over the course of the shutdown, we were able to have an executive put in so we could actually make those hard decisions so it was done correctly. And then just recently we put a full board into place. So we've actually got 10 members in total that are able to start working together to continue on assisting with those that were affected by COVID. Prior to that, what we had came up with was we wanted to help families. We wanted to help those that were affected by the COVID pandemic, those that had issues when it came to job loss or a slash in their income. We wanted to do what we could, and we were able to actually help right off the get-go over 20 families with gift cards so that they were able to get prescriptions, buy food, buy those necessities like toilet paper that apparently was very, very sought after for at least a month or so. Moving forward, we're actually looking at how to expand on that now that we have this this new amazing board in place on how we can actually help more citizens within the local 87 area. So again, because it's not just myself, it's an entire team of people that is doing this. We're quite confident that we're going to be able to help a lot of people over the next little while.
I know I've looked at, because I'll often hit a lot of the different websites because Lawrence and the rest of the region, we've worked at developing our own, again, folks up there at www.métis3.org website. I've also looked at the Local 87 website, which actually I can't remember exactly what the www, but I'll make sure I put it up here on the screen after, folks, just so that people get a chance to get to it. But is that one of the best ways for them to reach you? Is it picking up the phone? Because your website is fantastic. And I like that we're starting to engage the locals along with, our regional website, which then eventually takes us to the provincial website. And not to get into any of the challenges that seem to be happening nationally, because I'm sure at some point we'll end up talking about that on our show. But your website's great. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, absolutely. They can go to the website and then the email is at the bottom. They can also take a look at our Facebook page. We've got a great Facebook page that, again, they can contact us. We try to get back to people as quickly as possible, of course. And now that most of us are working from home for the next little while, we have a little bit more time to do so. So yeah, there's multiple streams and how they can actually get in contact with us. We're not too far away, and of course, being such a large city, you would think that it would be more difficult to get in touch with us, but actually, it's quite easy.
Yeah, I just had looked it up because again, it's always so bright. It always jumps out at me, your guys' website, www.métislocal87.ca, for those of you who are listening and not necessarily having the ability to watch this online. You're just listening to the podcast, but when you have those more difficult questions, is your next level of engagement, does that go to Lawrence? How often do you guys talk when it comes to coming up with the strategies?
Every hour, maybe? Every
I don't know, like
of every hour?
Minutes ago. So I guess for me, one of the benefits that I have with working with the community is because I've been at all levels of Métis government, I've been able to build these great relationships with our current leadership and prior to. So one of the things that I like is that I'm able to actually get in contact with Lawrence on just about any issue that I may have or any question that I may have, and he's open to having that dialogue. And I find that very important for me as a local president now, because of the pandemic that we're in and the transition that 87 is having.
Yeah, Local 87 is, roughly about 8,000 members here in the city, and about 20,000 self-identified here in Calgary. So it's a very, very big population in terms of Indigenous. And it's, a little bit different between First Nations and Métis. A lot of First Nations have agreements with Canada and they live on the reserves, but, the Métis, they live in the cities and the towns and a lot of these places that we reside in. So, 8,000 MNA members just in Calgary is a very large population to even represent. And it's really good to have a local president there that's very mindful of that aspect too, and then we work together quite well. So,
did you have anything you wanted to make as a shout out to something that's happening within Local 87 right now that is impacting your part of the community?
There's actually funny you mentioned that. We've only kind of been working together as a crew for the past, I want to say 4 to 6 weeks. But we've been together for much, much longer. And within that short time frame, we've actually got some great initiatives going on. We have a solar project that we're going to be putting in the building and the house that the Local 87 owns in the next week or so, which we're very excited about that. Saving a bunch of money is extremely important for those not-for-profits, as well as we are, for those of you that know the Local 87 area, we have a stage, and I'm sure some people have played on that stage, but unfortunately it's run its course. And we're going to be tearing it down, and we're going to be removing a bunch of the gravel because we're working with the city of Calgary for the front area that we're going to be putting in a lot new trees and whatnot. So we're trying to clean it up so that we can get a lot new shrubbery and whatnot to make it beautiful and aesthetically pleasing when people see it. One other point I want to bring up is that we're actually adding some art to the inside of the local. So I've been working with one of our wonderful volunteers and Local 87 members, Quentin, and he's been just amazing. And we're putting a Gabriel Dumont mural on one side as soon as you walk in the door. And on the other side, it's almost like a vinyl wallpaper of a print that was done by a Métis artist that's going all the way up the other side. These are just a couple of things that we've worked on literally in the past, I want to say about 3 weeks, that we've implemented, that we want to bring that culture back to the atmosphere of the building. So when people do come, like President Gervais and yourself, and of course President Patra, whoever wants to come, they feel that sense of warmth and culture and history and heritage back in the facility. And I think that's extremely important because we have such an amazing history of our people that it needs to be showcased as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. I know I've been very fortunate to play a lot of stages around this city, including that one. And thank you as well, Mr. Pimlott, for the time you spent putting together our regional area for Métis Fest, which I probably watched a good 3 hours of. Didn't catch myself. I guess my timing was rather poor, but big shout out to, thank you very kindly. Big shout out to Region 4 who did such a great job. And I am excited. I'm excited for, I hope we don't have to spend all of our time trying to figure out how to beautify everything virtually. I look forward to the time that we all start to get the chance that we can get back together. Now, the trouble with a 30 to 35 minute podcast, in order to try and fit all of our conversation in, is we're going to still have to invite you back quite a number of times. I know that as we continue to move forward, being one of the largest local and one of the strongest locals, and now that we're excited to see how we're going to see developments in leadership, you're going to have so much more input into our conversation, and I hope you're going to be willing or want to come back. That's why we won't challenge you too hard. But Lawrence, I wanted to leave a little bit of time here for, as we moved out of current issues and the things that are happening, to Métis Connections. I know we were talking a little earlier, you wanted to make a comment about some condolences. Maybe you could open up the dialogue a little on that.
Well, number one, when an individual takes up the initiative to do an application for harvesting and work with the government for, legal traditional hunting, those things aren't, something that we normally just brush off as um, something that's not tangible. But what we want for our members to understand that if you do get your harvesting, you want to make sure that you're safe, that it's safe for you to do so. The issue with COVID happened, and Jacob Sansom and Maurice Cardinal were practicing the traditional hunting right
Yeah.
as M&A members. I'd gone up to their hunting area, which is near Glendon, Alberta, and were obviously got into a confrontation and were murdered, and their lives were taken.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure that our condolences are sent to the families, because they did originate from this region, and we want to make sure that we're taking care of our own. So everyone in the Lethbridge area who's feeling all of this, where they're from, we want to make sure that we send our condolences there from on behalf of Region 3, and we will be there right from now till the end, and until there's some resolve. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I think it's important that we share that message, that though we don't all practice the same when it comes to our personal values, our personal roles, there's allowances within our community, and Métis harvesting rights being one of them, that we need to respect that. And then definitely thank you for sharing the condolences from all of us regarding, that very challenging situation, and very challenging for the families. Now, I know locally, this is a time of the year that we're celebrating. But
yeah, I mean, I do want to mention, when we have these celebrations, and we always go out, and when it's grad season, that's the primary thing. And even the local will get involved in some of the ceremonies. And this year we can't gather anymore. So, we wanted to send all the congratulations to all the grads, to, MRU, Mount Royal University, State, Southern Alberta Institution of Technology, and University of Calgary, and Bow Valley College, and Alberta University of the Arts. These are all places that invite us down every year for the grad ceremonies, and we do feel bad that we're not able to actually see them and congratulate them and present them with a sash. So,
and Joe, is that, I don't actually know, and I'd be curious, has there been, is that a practice within within locals? Has that conversation come up? I mean, this is, what a difficult time it must be. And I think I also was having a conversation earlier with a number of people about that. We are trying to make sure we're always aware of our seniors. But somebody mentioned to me just today, and they said, but we also have to be thinking about our youth. And you think to yourself, well, is this the new norm for them? Is this the norm, or is this how are we best going to understand it? Maybe we need to open up that dialogue. And in this case, how do you send a shout out to all of the Métis students, congratulating them? But I know that falls also a little on the local shoulders. But it's something that's so new.
You're right, absolutely, and it's very difficult with the local, having so many Métis live in the Calgary area, and not having that direct dialogue with the universities and colleges to know exactly how many are graduating. It's very difficult for us to try and figure that out. So, unfortunately, with the way the pandemic has fallen, we've kind of had this lapse in communication of uncertainty with how everything is going to play out.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate, because we have a lot of our young graduates that are, walking across that virtual podium that we may not have been able to connect with or congratulate. And it's unfortunate. And I believe that, on a platform like this, we're able to do something like that, not as much as we would like to, being in person or having those virtual acknowledgements shown to the institutions. But again, it's very, very difficult to find out when the direct dialogue isn't being able to happen, because the priority is everybody's health and safety and welfare. Do you know what I mean? It's very difficult.
I think I'd like to see that for this year, as soon as we're able to reconnect again, as soon as we have a Métis event that we're bringing people together, that we try to make sure we bring that into conversation for the young folks here. And I know we're talking about working on some new programs that are going to hopefully figure out a better way for us to connect with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, with things opening up slightly and us being able to start learning how to work in this modified space, I think we can do it. I really do. And I think that our young people will surprise us with a lot of their ideas and their initiatives that they want to put forward too. Because we're the old ones now.
Well, that's absolutely true. With the exception of my band, where somebody else manages the social media, I don't have any. And if you think about that, all of the youth of these that's out there, they already connect. They already know. They can almost read each other's minds based on each other's posts. And it's not that it's worse. It's not that it's better. It's just different. And I think we need to respect them for that. And hopefully they learn something from that.
They TikTok now, right? They TikTok. So we all have to get into that.
Is that what you'd like us to get into next?
The reason why I don't TikTok is because they steal your dance moves, apparently.
You're
careful,
yeah. I got a question for you. Can we still consider you a professional dancer, or was there a time when that ended? Where's the transition?
It ends after, it ends after probably your first job. So I think my last job was in '97. So it's been a while.
Okay, so that's sort of when when you can't really say it. You could say that you were a professional dancer. And
if you pay your yearly union fees, and as long as you're starting to work, right? I mean, you have a potential, but yeah.
Now, usually around this time, Mr. Pimlott, we move into, and I'm sure you've seen some of our episodes before, but we have a bit of a rant. And the thing I wanted to talk about, and because we've really hit home with everybody about that, you still got to follow the rules, folks. If you need to know the rules, go to the Alberta website, look up Alberta Health. But I've been in a number of situations, and being in a very active field myself, and a wife who's in the healthcare industry, sharing food, or when people get together for family events, folks, the spoon is still dirty. I get it. Seinfeld made such a great show of the fact that you can't double dip, but even within your own family network, you still have to try and respect the distancing. Now, is it just me who's frustrated with seeing people just walk over with big, not their own spoon, or not having one person serve everybody with sort of a safe? Is it just me?
No, you know what?
I get my wife to feed me, actually, so she doesn't touch anything.
I've gone through so many dishwashing pods, it's not even funny.
And so you're probably doing it right. And I think that's just something I'm trying to share with people. Yeah, it drives me nuts. Maybe I've always found it sort of drives me a little nuts that just everybody walks over and scooping up food, but we still have a duty.
I think what it is we're now much more aware of how relaxed everybody has been in the past.
Well, in the past, all you had to do is stay behind the sneeze guard. I don't know when those days are coming back again. I don't think that that's going to be enough that you could just stay 3 or 4 feet back behind the sneeze guard. Well, now it's going to be sneeze wall with just, you sort of reach your hand, or somebody reaches their hand, or maybe it'll be like the prison where you just your food through.
Oh no, we're going to have like
I don't know anything about prison, but what we probably could do is walk around in wardrobe boxes, and just put your hands out like this, and try to feed the little hole in the cardboard.
Yeah. I was gonna actually say we could have like our own sneeze guards, but they're actually attached to our shoulders. And
well, wouldn't that essentially turn it almost into a trough? Really, I guess we're just going to scoop your food into your little trough, and all you have to do is sort of maw away at it.
Got a little lever, it comes down, and you just
yeah.
It sounds like an invention and a marketable idea. I mean, maybe a possible business one.
That's patent pending.
Yeah. I guess you heard it here, folks, that this is the best idea that we've come up with so far. Some kind of a plexiglass cardboard box wearable device where they just scoop your food in and you eat away at it. If anybody else wants to steal that idea, they're more than welcome to at this time. So
just give us royalties. That's all we ask.
Just make sure you give us a little bit of money on the side, or just fresh new coffee every time. So thank you again to our coffee roaster today, the Rose Brothers. Thank you to our friends and families. Thank you to our subscribers. Folks, if you want to subscribe, you just go to YouTube, type in The Squeaky Wheel. You'll see our little cartoon picture there that comes up. And all you have to do is make sure that you're logged into YouTube or Google, and you can just click subscribe. So the more of you that continue to extend the conversation, the better off we're all going to be when we continue to share our Métis perspective. Thank you to the treaty regions. Thank you to the Métis Nation for sharing our settlement lands. Thank you to Mother Earth. Thank you to, though she's a bit challenging at this time, thank you to our friends. Thank you to my co-host. Thank you, Mr. Pimlott, the president of Local 87, for attending the Squeaky Wheel today. Folks, if you have any questions, even for Mr. Pimlott, if you have trouble finding him on their website, if you have trouble finding him, you could always reach out to us at tsw@métis3.org. You can always find us on our podcast as well on www.métis3.org. You always know you can call Lawrence. He will pick up the phone at any time and he'll buy you a coffee. So unless anybody else has anything else, my co-host, is there anything shout outs you'd like to make?
Nope, we're good.
And we will be having you back, Mr. Pimlott, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you. I felt like Max Headroom here.
Well, you fit in very well, and I appreciate the dialogue, and I appreciate the humor you brought to our conversation today.
Oh, it was my pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, and thank you to our listeners.